The story you're about to hear is not mine. It's the story of someone else. So let me introduce myself. My name is Adam Strange. I'm 23 years old, and I live in New York City. I work in a coffee shop, making lattes and trying to finish my novel. I've been writing stories for as long as I can remember, and now I'm gone. Tell you one of them. It was nearly sunset when I arrived at the train station. I was 16 years old and always late. I sprinted through the nearly empty station. My train home had already left, leaving me alone on the cold, silent platform. I could hear the station clock ticking loudly. I sat on an old wooden bench, catching my breath, watching the last sliver of sunlight disappear behind buildings across the tracks. The station was empty except for me, and the ticking echoed in the sudden silence. That S, when I saw it, a yellowed envelope wedged beneath the bench's worn wooden slats. Curiosity overcame hesitation, and I tugged it free. There was no address or return label, only a wax seal bearing a crest I didn't recognize. The heavy envelope contained a single sheet of thick watercolor paper, also sealed with wax. It was blank except for the elegant copper lettering that spanned its surface. To the one who finds this, my heart raced. Was this a prank? Carefully, I broke the seal and opened the letter. Inside lay another piece of thick watercolor paper. Unfolding it, I saw that the elegant handwriting continued. At the stroke of dusk, stand by the iron gate and listen. Some doors open only for those who truly listen. I glanced around. The platform was empty. The iron gate, which always remained locked, stood at the far end. I had passed it countless times, never noticing the faded copper lettering on its surface. Now, however, the words jumped out at me. Listen. The sky had turned dusky purple. A chill wind ruffled my hair. I couldn't help it. Despite the padlock and the late hour, I walked toward the gate. The metal was cold under my hand. Was this all a foolish game? Had someone hidden something here for me to find? Or was there something more, drawn by an inexplicable pull I couldn't explain? I closed my eyes and listened. At first, only the whisper of wind through the bars and the distant rumble of traffic reached me. But then, from within the gate, a soft sound, almost like a faint ticking, seemed to echo. I leaned closer, trying to identify the sound. It grew louder, reverberating through the gate. And then, click, the ancient lock gave way. Heart pounding, I pushed the gate wider and stepped through. A musty smell, like old books and damp earth, wafted from beyond. I emerged into a dark, narrow maintenance tunnel. Small lamps mounted on the brick walls cast an orange glow, creating pools of golden light that illuminated moats dancing in the stagnant air. Vaguely, I could see that the tunnel extended far ahead, disappearing into the gloom. On the tunnel wall, several arrows scratched into the brick pointed steadily forward. Hesitantly, I took a step into the flickering lamplight. Curiosity warred with apprehension, urging me onward. I continued down the tunnel, deeper into the bowels of the station, following the arrows. The tunnel curved, opening up into a small underground chamber. In its center stood a large wooden chest, bound with iron and covered with dust. A single sheet of paper rested on top. Picking it up, I found another note written in the same elegant copper script. Thank you for listening. The greatest treasures are not always gold. I stared at the chest, wondering what lay inside. The locks were old and rusty, but I could feel that something important resided within. Taking a deep breath, I lifted the heavy lid. Instead of gold coins, jewelry, or other riches, the chest contained dozens of small, intricately bound journals. I pulled one out and blew off the dust. The leather was soft and supple despite the years. As I opened it, I saw that each page was filled with tiny, precise handwriting. And art. On the inside cover was a name, neatly embossed, Alice, followed by a date, almost a century old. Reading further, I discovered her story. Apparently, Alice had found this place by pure chance, just as I had, drawn here by a mysterious letter. Throughout the years, different people had stumbled upon this secret chamber, leaving behind their thoughts, stories, and dreams in these journals. I read about lost love, unfulfilled dreams, and secret wishes whispered into darkness. As I continued reading, I learned about secret loves, hopes, and dreams. Each journal told a story of someone who had been touched by this hidden place. There were sketches, poems, even lists of mundane things like favorite foods or childhood memories. I could tell just from reading these snippets that each person who came here had been deeply affected by this place, by the act of putting pen to paper in such an intimate, secluded space. And now here I was, adding my own entry to this century-long conversation between strangers. At the back of the chest, I found a blank journal and a small fountain pen. I didn't need to read any further to understand. With trembling hands, I lifted the heavy chest lid. Placing the journal on top, I took the pen and began to write. My name is Adam. I almost missed my train tonight, but maybe I was meant to. I've always been afraid to say what I really feel. Here, no one would judge what I wrote. No one would ever know. And so I poured my heart onto the page. I wrote about my fears, failing school, disappointing my parents, feeling invisible among my friends. About the girl I liked, but could never bring myself to talk to. And about my dream of becoming a writer. A dream that terrified me as much as it excited me. When I finished, I placed the journal carefully back inside the chest. As I stood, the lamps flickered and the tunnel seemed to hum softly, as if acknowledging my words. I returned through the tunnel, back to the iron gate, the musty smell lingering on my clothes. When I looked over my shoulder, the gate had closed silently, hiding the passage once more. On the train ride home, I felt strangely lighter. I hadn't meant to share so much, to speak so honestly, but something about the secret chamber and these anonymous journals had given me courage. I never found the gate open again, but sometimes, on quiet nights, I would come back, sit by the gate, and listen. Sometimes the wind would whisper through the iron bars, as if carrying secrets only I could hear. And though the world never knew about the chamber of journals, I carried its secret gift, the courage to speak, to write, and to truly listen. Not just to others, but to the quiet voice inside myself. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to hear more of my stories, stay tuned for new videos every week. Until then, take care and happy listening.